Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Kelly Mack on this lovely Friday. And with me today on the Kelly Mack Show, we have Bechara Choucair. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. You're the White House coordinator for vaccinations, and we have a lot going on with this COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, we got the breaking news yesterday that the CDC said, hey, if you're fully vaccinated, you no longer have to wear a mask indoors or outdoors. And we also got the breaking information that children can now become vaccinated. So let's talk about that first, the kids and the vaccines.
Sure. Well, obviously last week was a great week. Adolescents 12 to 15 now can get vaccinated. I don't know about you, Kelly, but I know so many 12 to 15 years old who had to miss out on so many events over the last 15 months.
Yeah.
School events, sports, hanging out with grandparents, hanging out with friends. And now we have a safe and effective vaccine that could give them the protection so that they can get back to more and more close to a normal life. So that's an outstanding advancement in the fight in this pandemic. And I'm really, really excited about it.
I'm excited too. And, I know a lot of kids did. It almost seems like they missed a whole year and a half nearly of, just socializing and being a kid, which is, quite the challenge to say the least, especially in your teens when you kind of thrive off of social interaction. So let's talk about the vaccine and distributing it to the children. I read some reports online that it's nearly 100% effective.
It is. It's just unbelievable. I mean, it is almost 100% effective. The trial was done on thousands of kids. The FDA reviewed the data, studied the data, made their decision. The CDC reviewed the data, also recommended the use. So it's a very, very safe, extremely effective vaccine. And it'll add, probably there's about 17 million or so 12 to 15 years old in this country, and they'll add that group to be fully protected, fully vaccinated, and hopefully that will be one step in the right direction to be able to put this pandemic behind us.
Okay. Now, is there a specific vaccine that the 12 to 15-year-olds have to take? I know for 16 to 18, it's Pfizer, if my memory serves me correctly. Would that be the same for the 12 to 15-year-olds?
Correct. So the FDA and the CDC now approved the Pfizer vaccine for 12 to the 15 years old. We know that Moderna is also going to be submitting a request for approval for the Moderna vaccine. We don't know when that will come out, but for now, Pfizer is the only vaccine that's approved to 12 to 15 years old. And Kelly, it's actually pretty easy to find vaccine these days, as you know. There are more than 15,000 pharmacies across the country that have Pfizer vaccine available. And we're getting more and more pediatricians and family docs to have the vaccine in their own practices. So when adolescents or their parents are getting to see their doctors, they could get vaccinated as well. So we're making the vaccine as easily available as possible.
That's great news. I know I was in CVS a couple of weeks ago, and then even a couple of days ago, they actually have door greeters asking, hey, would you like to get, the vaccine today for COVID-19? And I'm like, and they're like, yeah, you don't have to sign up. You don't have to wait. All you need is an arm.
So did you sign up?
I have not yet. It's coming though. It's coming.
So what questions do you have? Are you thinking about it? Are you debating this?
That's a good question. Like many, it's like, I kind of feel like I did have COVID-19. I believe that I had it back in November before we even knew what it was. I had all the signs and symptoms, and almost half of my office got sick. So we were all diagnosed with something differently. One of us got diagnosed with the flu. One of us got diagnosed with the upper respiratory system infection, another one with a sinus infection. And then for me, they told me I had rhinovirus. Well, I'm not even sure what that is, but obviously this was before COVID-19. And then a few months later, we found out about COVID-19 and we're like, oh my gosh, we think we had it. So being there, we think that we had it and we've been very safe, since, and none of us have acquired it since. Kind of feel like I might have the immunity to it. And I don't know that I want to, put something in my body that maybe I don't need. So maybe you can help me out with that.
Well, I mean, this is a very legitimate question, Kelly. And what we know from research and what we know from the studies that if you've been exposed to COVID before, your
Mhm,
body would have built some level of immunity. What the
mhm,
vaccine does is it lifts up, it boosts your antibody titer to a much higher level, that it gives you a much better protection and much more durable protection. That's why the CDC recommends for people who've been exposed to the virus before to still get vaccinated. But all of those are such legitimate questions. And, I tell the story of my parents, my mom and dad, they both were like, well, I don't know if I want to get vaccinated. I want to wait for some more. Did you get vaccinated yet? So when I got vaccinated, they felt better. But I sat down with them and I answered all their questions. My dad got fully vaccinated a couple of weeks ago, and my mom just got comfortable on Wednesday. And she went there, got her first dose, and she's getting ready for her second dose. So, I mean, I think all those are legitimate questions. This
mhm.
decision of getting vaccinated is a very personal decision and important decisions. And people have questions, and we want to make sure we're giving people the opportunity to have their questions answered. And that's why the role of the doctors and the nurses becomes so critical, as
Mhm.
well as other trusted people in the community.
Right.
We know, as you know more and more people who are getting vaccinated, you get more comfortable with it, you learn about their experience. So all of those are so important. So thank you so much for sharing this with me. I feel very special that you shared that.
Oh, you're welcome. And I really haven't talked about it publicly because I am not an anti-vaxxer. I mean, I grew up, here in the States, and you had to get your immunization card in order to go to school, and so did my son. So it's not like I'm this anti-vaxxer with this conspiracy theory. It's just, a level of concern, considering that, they did come out with this vaccine so quickly after the pandemic was actually declared in our country and nationwide, worldwide, and it's just kind of like, well, I don't know. So I think that's everyone's concern. A lot of people that haven't become vaccinated yet. So what kind of advice would you give to those folks out there that are kind of on the fence? It's like, I'm not against it, but I want to make sure I'm making the right decision.
I think, first of all, the most important thing is to give people the opportunity to have answers to those questions.
Mhm,
All the questions that you've brought up in the last few minutes, they're all very legitimate questions.
mhm,
People have them across the country. So being able to, the how fast the vaccine was developed is a very legitimate question. The thing is, when you look at the technology behind the vaccine, the science behind it is
mhm,
over 2 decades in the making. It's not like, 6 months ago or 9 months ago, hey, let's think about this mRNA. Can we make a vaccine out of it? There's been
right,
2 decades worth of work, and
mhm,
it was able to be accelerated so that you can do the studies. And, we never really got rid of the science. It's been always science driven. We just made sure that it was accelerated, but based on science that's more than 2 decades in the making. So, but again, like, all those are legitimate questions, and thank you for bringing them up.
No problem, no problem. Now, when you say 2 decades in the making, you're talking at least 20 years. And I think that's another concerning question, specifically, with my audience is how is it that you've been working on a COVID-19 vaccine for the last 20 years? And we just found out what COVID-19 was tail end of 19, beginning of 2020. So how is that possible? Now, I know I have a friend who works in a lab, and she told me, she said, Kelly, we've been testing people for COVID for years, ever since I've been in the lab, but the 2019 strand is just a different strand. So does that kind of explain where you're going with that as far as, testing this vaccine for so long?
Well, let me just clarify. The 2 decades are working on the science behind the vaccine, or the platform for the
Mhm.
vaccine, not necessarily the vaccine for COVID-19, because to your point, we didn't have COVID-19 until,
Right.
15, 16 months ago. But
Mhm.
the platform that allow us to deliver the vaccine, which is the messenger RNA, that's the science that's been developing for many, many, many years. Now,
Mhm.
the COVID-19 virus is a brand new virus, but it comes from the family of the coronaviruses that are fairly well known. The
Right.
virus is new. It comes from a well-known family of the coronaviruses that are
Mhm.
out and about. So we're learning. We learn every day. We
Mhm.
learn new things every day. And
Mhm.
as the the science evolves, so does the guidance, so does the recommendations. So it's always great to be able to work with the CDC and keep an eye on all the guidance that's coming out from the CDC, where they're keeping very close eye on what we're learning from the science and what we're learning from the research.
Got it. Got it. So, I've also had people say, hey, they found this COVID-19 vaccine all within, 12 to 14 months, but we're still dealing with cancer. We're still dealing with HIV. We're still dealing with HSV and all types of other diseases, illnesses, and viruses. And they want to know, why is it that COVID-19 ended up, taking the precedence, I guess you could say.
Well, I mean, it's an unprecedented pandemic. It's once in a century type of a pandemic. And honestly, it requires that we have extraordinary efforts to be able to put this pandemic behind us. I mean,
Right.
more than 575,000 people in this country lost their lives.
Right.
Almost 3.5 million people globally have
Hmm.
lost their lives. And Kelly, I mean, I feel like we all know people who've been impacted by this pandemic, and so many lives were lost too early. And I think about the people who died. Every one of them had a story, every one of them has ambitions, every one of them has goals they'd want to achieve. And this pandemic just killed that. So I feel like the way we're responding to this pandemic is absolutely the right way. It's just like we have to do everything we can to put this pandemic behind us.
Yeah, definitely. I know somebody that's very close to me fighting right now, and this individual took all of the precautions that were available, and she did not get the vaccine, obviously, and now she's fighting. And she did say, "Hey, I'm kind of regretting I didn't, but I do think I'm going to get it after I recover from this." And I also had a friend slash coworker that lost his life to COVID-19 at the beginning of this past year, 2021, in January, and he fought probably like 8 or 9 weeks. So I get the seriousness of it. I think that a lot of us just human nature to be a little bit hesitant as well as a little bit curious, all in one. But again, I'm definitely not against it. I'm loving the fact that so many people are stepping up, saying, "Hey, whatever it takes, so we can get back to some level of normalcy." Now, I was looking at a report on, matter of fact, I'm a big fan of Lester Holt, so I watch his newscast every night. And he was saying in his report that a majority of the vaccines are made in India, but less than, I think they want to say less than 20% or less than 15% of their residents have been fully vaccinated. And obviously, we see what's going on over there. Is there any real sense of logic behind that or any explanation that you can provide?
Well, it is heartbreaking what's happening in India, and and I'm so glad that as a country we're stepping up and we're supporting the efforts there with oxygen and PPE and other supplies. We're working with India and other Quads partner on boosting the manufacturing of the vaccine. We rejoined as an organization, as a country, we rejoined the World Health Organizations. We've contributed more than $4 billion to COVAX to make sure that vaccines is available globally. All of this is so important. The president has said, the pandemic knows no boundaries, and we have to be thinking about this from a global perspective, and that's what we're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, how are the other countries coming along with the whole, vaccination process? How's that coming for them?
It evolves. There are places that are doing great. There are places that are still getting their programs up and running. The access to the vaccine continues to be a challenge across the globe. Obviously, I've been mostly spending most of my time focusing here in the United States, and I do feel like we still have a lot of work to do here in the United States, and we have to continue to pay attention to the rest of the world, because we can't put this pandemic as a globe behind us if we don't get the rest of the world vaccinated as well.
Absolutely. So, what is today's percentage of fully vaccinated Americans?
So that's a great question. So the president has committed that by July 4th, he set a new goal for us to have 70% of adults with at least one shot. We're
Okay.
at 59.1% today. So we
Wow.
still have about 11% of adults to give them at least one shot between now and July 4th. So we're really excited about that. He
That's
also set a goal for
mhm.
160 million people to be fully vaccinated by July 4th. And today we're at 120 million people fully vaccinated in this country. So we
That's
still have a long way to go, but
mhm.
that's why it's so important that we make it as easy as possible and as convenient as possible for people to get vaccinated. That's why if you text your zip code to GetVax, GETVAX, you will get 3 locations just near you where you can get vaccinated. You can look up vaccines.gov. You can
Mhm.
get that information. And as you know, Uber and Lyft now are offering free rides between May 24th and July 4th for people who want to go to and from vaccination sites to get vaccinated. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that access to the vaccine is as convenient and as easy as possible. Pop-up clinics, no need for appointments. You can
Mhm.
just walk in. You just mentioned yourself the CVS. You walked in, people asked you. I
Yeah.
mean, those are things that are really important. And the second big part is to continue to build vaccine confidence, continue to have like this conversation that you and I are having right now. We need millions of these conversations to happen across the country so that people can make informed decisions.
Right.
These are personal choices.
Mhm.
These are individual decisions that people would make. And there were a lot of people who were raising their hands, standing in line for community vaccination centers,
Mhm.
and others who still have questions. And we want to make sure we're answering those questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about the side effects real quick. I know that some people get side effects and some people have absolutely none. My dad, he recently got his, and he said he was okay. A lot of women that I know, they get theirs and they say, "Well, I was sick for a couple days, but then I was okay." So, do side effects affect women more so than men?
Not necessarily. I mean, everybody responds differently to the side effects. And you said you have a son who got vaccinated in all different for different reasons, and people respond to vaccines differently.
Mhm.
If you get a lot of people get arm pain at the site of the injection. Some
Well,
people get a little fever, a little chill. Some people feel nauseated. Some people feel nothing, absolutely nothing at all. Some people have less side effect after the first shot, more side effect after the second shot. I think as you are planning for this, to expect this, I think to manage expectations is going to be really important. And just know when you're having those side effects, that means your body immune system is developing a response, so you're protected. And the other important point, and I think the President Kelly has been very clear about this by calling on businesses to make sure that people get paid time off to go and get vaccinated. And if they feel under the weather after the vaccines for a day or two, to also be able to get paid time off.
right.
No working person in this country should lose a dollar from their paycheck because they'd want to get vaccinated. So we'd want to make sure that
Yeah.
we're calling in on businesses, and also for small and medium-sized businesses, the American Rescue Plan provide tax credits so that they can get compensated for that paid time off for people to go get vaccinated. Anything we can do to remove barriers from people to get vaccinated is going to be important.
That's awesome. I absolutely love it. Does it with the side effects, does it okay, say for instance, like a lot of people are like, I got sick after the vaccine and I think it's because I haven't been exposed. And then some people say, well, I had COVID and I got the vaccine and I didn't get sick. Does that have anything to do with the side effects, or is it just kind of how people's bodies respond?
It's hard. It really is hard. I don't know how to answer this question. And, this is the question that my mom and my dad keep asking me before
Yeah.
they got to the vaccine. How are we going to feel? Should we take the day off? What happens if I do this? And can I go to work right after? I mean, all those questions, and those are important questions, and everybody's respond differently to the vaccine. And, I got mine back in February. I got the first shot. I had a little arm pain from it, no
Mhm.
major side effects. After my second shot, 3 weeks later, I had a little bit of pain at the site of the injections. I was feeling a little kind of tired by the end of the day. And then the following day, I got up and I did 16 hours a day worth of work. So it was and I know people who got more side effects, and I know a lot of people who got less. So
Got it. Got it. Is there going to be a booster shot? Kind of like, some of these other vaccinations or immunizations that we get, you get a booster shot. Is there going to be a booster shot, or is this just going to be something we can expect to have to do every year, just like the flu shot?
We don't know yet the answer to this question. This is a very important question. And what we know so far is
Mhm.
that the durability of the protection is at least 6 months, and it's still very strong, and it's likely much longer. We don't know how long that would be. We continue to monitor this. The researchers, the scientists continue to monitor this, and we will wait to see what the science tell us and what the FDA says, what the CDC says, and we will get the boosters accordingly. For now, it's hard to tell.
Got it. Got it. Understood. Well, we are live on Facebook. I'm going to give a couple people an opportunity to ask questions. If anybody has questions about the COVID-19 vaccine, you can go ahead and drop your question down here and we will be happy to answer it. A lot of people are saying, I was fully vaccinated, but I don't trust taking my mask off just yet. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's also a legitimate feeling. This is a personal choice. Today I got out of the hotel. I'm in Denver visiting with my family here and visiting with one of the vaccination site. And I looked around, am I going to be comfortable taking my mask out? It's an important question. We know what the science tells us, that if you're fully vaccinated, you are protected. The science is very clear there. If people are going to take them a day or two or three or maybe more to get comfortable doing that, absolutely. It is a personal choice and you make that decision on your own.
Okay. Another question, is it true that you can still get COVID-19 if you have been fully vaccinated?
Well, the questions on breakthrough infections, that's basically once you're fully vaccinated. So that's 2 weeks after your second shots of Pfizer or Moderna, or 2 weeks after your second shots, after your one shot of J&J. The breakthrough cases are so rare. I mean, just, the last, I think I've looked, there's out of like 90+ million people fully vaccinated, we had about 9,000 breakthrough infections. That's a minuscule, that's 0.000. I need my calculator to get the number of zeros one. So you are fully protected, really well protected when you're vaccinated. So that's the answer there.
Okay. And the final question is, somebody made a reference to the fact that you gave out a text number earlier to get vaccination sites. Can you share that again? Because I think they missed it.
Sure. Let me make sure I got that right. It is GetVax, GETVAX. It is 438829. And if you text your zip code, you will be able to get 3 sites that are near you where you can get vaccinated. You can also go to vaccines.gov and you have all the information there as well.
So vaccines.gov, or you can text the word GetVax to 438829.
No, you text your zip code to
Okay.
438829, which is the GetVax,
That's the
GETVAX.
GetVax number.
Yeah.
Text your zip code. So my zip code, if I was to text 77705 to the number 438829, it'll give me a bounce back of where I can go and get my vaccinations.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. All right. Well, again, with us today, all the way from the White House, but he's in Denver today, but he does work for the White House. This is Bechara Choucair, and he is the White House Vaccinations Coordinator. We appreciate you checking in. Oh, and Dr., no disrespect, Dr. Bechara Choucair, checking in on the Kelly Mack Show from the White House. We appreciate you checking in and answering all our questions today. Thank you so much. We hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Kelly. You've been awesome.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.